God's kingdom, unashamed of our call.
Well, good afternoon, and God bless you today. This is June the 23rd, 2026. We're in an exciting time in the world, a time when many things are shifting and changing, and the call to lead is coming upon the heart of many of us. This is the Deborah Table. I am Apostle Dr. Andrea Williams, the host of this conversation, Conversations with Women Who Lead. When we think about the moment that we are in, we think about the timeline that God has given us, that we were made for now. And so the leadership grace on your life is not for a later time. It's not for when you feel like it. It is when God has called you and assigned you. So this podcast is about women who are saying yes to who they are, about living in the boundaries of their purpose and understanding the power of their assignments. And so today, as we begin to look into this moment, and why is this moment important? Because as we move through the middle of the year and we move through this time of summer, that we really begin to take time to reflect and relieve ourselves of some things that we need to let go of so we can be more profitable before we end this year. Today's episode is something that I think we all need to consider and think about. Today, we're going to talk about a subject that is not trendy but transformational. Today's episode is called The Power of No. And why don't you just drop that in the chat today? The power of no. Because your future depends on your ability to say no. Your peace depends on your ability to say no. Your assignment depends on your ability to say no. And many women leaders have never been taught that. We've just been taught to say yes or to move on. But today we're going to give ourselves access to the word called no. We'll give us access to the conversation that Noah's been trying to have in us, and we just kind of haven't listened. So let's think about no. No is a governing word. No is not rude. No is not selfish. No is not arrogant. No is a governing word. No is a word of stewardship. No is a word of alignment. No is the language of a woman who understands that her life is valuable. A woman who cannot say no becomes a public resource. And you were not created to be consumed. You were created to be effective. You might just want to drop that in the chat as well. I was created to be effective because that's going to change your inner dialogue, change your conversation. But let's be honest today. Many women were trained to love through availability. If you answer the phone, you're good. If you show up, you're good. If you overextend, you're good. If you give more than you have, you are good. But if you say no, suddenly you're selfish. That is emotional manipulation. And that is how many women leaders become exhausted. They're not exhausted from the assignment, they're exhausted by guilt that I would have, should have, could have. See, again, women fear no because they fear one, being misunderstood, being disliked, being called harsh, being called challenging and change, being rejected, and losing relationships. But let me assure you today, and maybe just undergird your heart and tell you that if a relationship calls you or requires you to abandon yourself to maintain it, that relationship is not worth you. It's not worth your life. It's not worth your purpose. That relationship is not love. It's called control. And so, as we're looking at this day today, we're looking at the power of no and deciding that I'm not going to be controlled. I'm going to be those who move according to my assignment. Some of you have been held hostage by relationships that only survive if you remain available. That means if you are answering every 911 call or if you're just living your life on call. But today, let's think about who we are. We're women who lead, and we're women with boundaries. You see, Jesus had boundaries. Jesus withdrew from crowds. Jesus didn't heal everyone. He didn't answer every question. Jesus did not respond to every accusation. And you know what? We've got to begin to understand that if Jesus had boundaries, we need them too. We're not more anointed than Jesus. We're not more called than Jesus. And so we have to quit trying to be available to everybody. And sometimes people want to put that guilt on you. Well, if you're a Christian, if you're a leader, if you love me, but the question becomes, do we love ourselves enough to understand there's a power in a word called no? It's a governing power. It's a word that says boundaries reveal who is assigned to us. See, again, when we think about people that get frustrated, leave, take the ball and go home, cut and run, maybe they weren't assigned to us. People who are assigned to us respect our boundaries. People who are using us protest our boundaries. Why aren't you available? Why can't I come? Why can't we talk? As a matter of fact, they'll interrupt your day just to share something from their day that has no relevance to who you are. So when you begin to set boundaries, someone becomes angry. And when someone becomes angry, it's not always because you hurt them. Sometimes it's because you expose their access. Here, the Deborah table. Yes, the Deborah table. Because the table requires selective seating. At a table, not everyone sits. At a table, seating is intentional. At a table, there's order. And at a table, there are boundaries. And if you are going to lead in this season, woman of God, you must understand not everyone gets access to your life. Not everyone gets access to your energy, and not everyone gets access to your wisdom. Not everyone gets access to your time. Why? Now, please write this in the chat today because access is currency. And if you give it away, you become poor in spirit. And I get it. We care about people, we want to help people. But if we don't put the mask on ourselves, we won't be able to help others around us. And so we've got to learn how to say no without guilt. Maybe we'll say something like this: I hear you, but that doesn't align with my current focus. Or I can't commit to that right now. Maybe we have to say, I'm not available for that. Or I'm honoring my capacity. That means that I realize that helping in that moment is beyond who I am called to help. We might have to say, I appreciate you, but I'm unable to do that, or I will have to respectfully decline. And then stop talking because many women say no, then explain themselves into a yes. No does not require a sermon, no requires clarity, and no is a complete sentence. Now, when you say no, you are not selfish, you're strategic. See, God is raising up women who will not be controlled by guilt. God is raising up women who will not be emotionally manipulated. And God is raising women who will not apologize for boundaries. I must admit, I probably have been controlled by guilt. I've been emotionally manipulated, and I have apologized for not being available. But God is rewriting the script of his intent for our lives, that we might know who we are. We're Deborah, and we're at the Deborah table. Deborah table, where conversations with women who lead are changing how we see ourselves. So let me speak over you today and declare that your yes will be protected. Your time will be protected. Your peace will be protected. Your assignment will be protected. And you will have the courage to say no without guilt. You know why? Because no is holy. See, just drop that in the chat. No is holy. And share this with a woman who needs permission to protect her life. Mother, wife, sister, aunt, grandmother, pastor, leader, teacher. Again, no is holy. And you deserve the right to seal out within and protect your boundaries. And so let's look at this, that the Deborah table is open. Pull up a chair. And guess what? You can say no. The power of no. Just practice it. Practice no in the mirror. Practice no in your writing. Practice leading, protecting your access, and understanding that you're more valuable than you know and more powerful than you will ever be. This is a moment of dynamic change. We are not trending, but we are transformational. I am Dr. Andrea Williams. Thank you for being a part of this conversation. I hope it speaks to your heart. Now, but even as we consider no and the power of no, we can just say, I'm just going to say no, but we really want to be strategic because there are times when we can cut people off and God says, let them in. And there are people God says, cut people off and we let them in. So let's lean in and hear the Holy Spirit and understand the power of no is strategic, it's governing, it's a call of God so that our yes can matter. Have a great day. We look forward to having this conversation with you again on next week. And yes, we are bringing you a space where women who lead are having conversations regarding leadership. God bless. By the way, please remember to the Deborah Cipher. my latest book. It's on Amazon. Go ahead and get that. And as a matter of fact, beginning next week, we have something we're going to give you who has subscribed to this channel just because you're part of who we are, a part of the community. And if you've heard this and you want to be a part of what we're building, please drop not only a yes, I am in the chat, but send us your email because we'll connect. We'll be together and be the community God has called us to be. Women who lead, and we lead not from permission, but from purpose. God bless.